The Forgotten Letters. It had been 7 years since Leo last saw Nathan, the one person who had once been his best friend. Their friendship had weathered everything: high school drama, late-night talks, and countless inside jokes that only the two of them understood. They had been inseparable since childhood. But all that came crashing down over a trivial argument, one that neither of them could even remember clearly. Words were exchanged, wounds were made, and the bridge they had built together burned to the ground. They didn't speak after that day, and though both of them carried the weight of that silence, neither knew how to break it. The fight had been about something foolish, something so insignificant that in hindsight, they both realized how silly it was. But at the time, pride and ego made it impossible for either to back down. And so, months turned into years, and the void between them only grew wider, with no communication, no resolution. Life moved on, as it always does, and eventually Leo and Nathan slipped into different worlds. But one day, a thought invaded Leo's mind, an overwhelming desire to reach out and make amends. It came out of nowhere, catching him completely off guard. He was sitting at his kitchen table, surrounded by bills and paperwork, when the idea struck him like a bolt of lightning. He hadn't been able to get Nathan out of his head for days now, and he realized that the weight of their broken friendship was heavier than he'd allowed himself to acknowledge. He needed to apologize, even if Nathan might never respond. The decision was made. Leo sat down at his desk, grabbed a piece of paper, and began to write. Dear Nathan, I don't expect this letter to undo the damage of the years lost, but I need to say something that's been weighing on my heart for a long time. I am sorry for the way things ended between us. I was stubborn, selfish, and I allowed something trivial to come between us. I was too proud to admit that I was wrong, and I let the silence between us grow into something neither of us deserved. You are my best friend, Nathan, and I miss you. I don't know if this letter will ever reach you, but if it does, I hope you can forgive me. No matter where life has taken us, I'll always remember the good times. Yours, Leo. With a deep breath, Leo sealed the letter, feeling both a sense of relief and anxiety. Would Nathan even care? Would it make a difference after all this time? He didn't know, but something told him that he needed to send it, that he needed to try. It wasn't long before the letter reached Nathan. He had long since moved to a small town by the coast, away from the city where he and Leo had spent most of their lives. Nathan had tried to forget about Leo, tried to convince himself that the pain of their separation was just a part of growing up. But deep down, he had never truly gotten over it. Every time he thought about the lost friendship, there was a sharp ache in his chest, as though a part of him had been missing for years. When Nathan saw the letter, he nearly dropped it. The handwriting was unmistakable, and for a moment, he hesitated. His mind flashed back to the argument, to the cold silence that had followed it. But something else tugged at him, something that told him he couldn't ignore this. With shaking hands, he opened the envelope and began to read. The words were simple, but they struck him like a storm. He had no idea that Leo still thought about him, that Leo still cared. As he read the letter again, he felt a flood of emotions rise up within him. Anger, regret, and beneath it all, a longing for the friendship they had once shared. Nathan didn't know what to do with this letter. It felt like an impossible situation, one that couldn't be fixed so easily. But then, just as quickly as the doubt had entered his mind, the decision was made. He grabbed a piece of paper, and with a heart full of both hesitation and hope, he began to write back. Dear Leo, I never thought I would hear from you again. To be honest, I didn't know what I would feel when this day came. I've carried the weight of our argument for all these years, and I never knew if you felt the same. Reading your letter has stirred up emotions I thought I had buried long ago. The truth is, I've missed you. I've missed our friendship, and I've missed the person I was when I was with you. What we fought about seems so insignificant now. I've learned a lot in these years about pride, about forgiveness, about the things that truly matter. Thank you for reaching out. I don't know where this will go, but I'm willing to find out. Yours, Nathan. Nathan sealed the letter, his heart racing as he dropped it in the mailbox. He couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. Weeks passed, and with each passing day, both men waited anxiously, unsure of what the future held. And then, one day, as Leo sat on his couch, nursing a cup of coffee, the knock came at his door. When he opened it, there was Nathan, standing on the other side, looking both familiar and changed. They stared at each other for a moment, neither quite sure what to say. But then, Nathan stepped forward, and without a word, he pulled Leo into a hug. For the first time in years, the distance between them seemed to vanish, replaced by a warmth that neither of them had expected. "I've missed you, man," Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've missed you too," Leo replied, his voice barely a whisper. They stood there for a moment, letting the weight of everything that had happened settle between them. The years, the silence, the pain, it all seemed to melt away in that one embrace. There were no more words needed. The bond they had once shared was still there, stronger than ever. And as they sat together that night, talking and laughing like no time had passed, they both realized something profound. It wasn't the years that had caused the distance between them, but the silence. The silence that they had both allowed to grow, that they had both feared to break. But now, with one simple letter, everything had changed. They had found their way back to each other. In the years that followed, Leo and Nathan's friendship grew even stronger. They traveled together, shared new experiences, and, most importantly, never let silence creep between them again. They knew now that life was too short to let pride get in the way of what truly mattered. They had learned the value of forgiveness, the importance of taking the first step, and how powerful a simple letter could be. And as they sat together one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of orange and pink, Leo turned to Nathan and smiled. "You know," he said, "I think we're stronger now than we've ever been." Nathan nodded, his eyes reflecting the same peace. "Yeah, I think so too." It wasn't just the years that had healed their friendship. It was the willingness to face the past, to forgive, and to try again. And in the end, that was all that really mattered. The bond they shared, born from years of laughter and pain, had become something unbreakable. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, they both knew that no matter what the future held, they would always find their way back to each other. Because some friendships, no matter how fractured they may seem, are worth fighting for.
Whispering echoes.